Okay, let's talk about strengthening your weak hand. Definitely the left for me. All right, so why do we want to strengthen our weak hand? One isolated example is, let's say you want to play something like this. Four rapid strokes on the snare. Again, my left hand is my weak hand. There's no way I'd be able to play something like that if I hadn't worked on strengthening this guy, right? Now, again, that's an isolated one-off example. The bigger picture is that if you want to sound even and smooth playing any groove, any style of music, you've got to have two hands that complement each other that can do some stuff, right? Both hands need to be able to play. So definitely worth your while to strengthen your weak hand. Now, 3 tips to getting this done. Step number 1 is you need good solid technique in your strong hand first so that you can mirror that technique in your weak hand, right? Strengthening that weak hand really is all about mirroring what's going on in that hand that you favor that's strong. So let's take a look at my hand technique video, just a snippet from it. And I really recommend that you watch this entire video. And then if you want to go deeper, jump over to templeleague.com, check out my Better Hands course, start a free trial. You can go much deeper on this stuff. But here's a little excerpt from the hand technique video. Let's talk about 8 hand technique tips that will drastically improve your drumming. So the first one is to loosen up, right? You might be squeezing really hard between your thumb and first finger, or you might be pulling the stick into your palm with these fingers, just grasping it really tight. So you don't want to do any of that. You really just want to barely hang on between your thumb and your first finger there, okay? So just barely hanging on. And whether you're playing from this stick height here or this, you're just barely hanging on in either case. Step 2 is you want to learn to bounce. So to really train that, we're going to go ahead and do an exercise where we drop our 3 fingers off the stick. And again, we're just hanging on real lightly, and then we're just going to bounce the stick. And anything we do on our right hand, we want to do on our left. Same thing, just bounce it. And once you get comfortable with that, and the stick's just bouncing back up to you, then you can add your fingers back on. But again, the goal here is just to stay really, really loose, okay? And what this does, learning how to bounce the stick, is now, and this is step 3, we can use our fingers to play the stick, okay? So if you see, these fingers are actually playing the stick. They're not grabbing onto the stick now. That's all happening here. But they're actually playing the stick. So if you want to play like triples, or doubles, right? The first stroke is the wrist, and then the second one is fingers. And that's how you can play doubles that are actually beefy and solid and strong and not just weak bounces, right? All right, so that's tip number 1. Make sure you have good solid technique built up in your strong hand and that you mirror that technique in your left hand, or your weak hand rather. All right, step number 2 is to work on your French grip, especially in that weak hand. Okay, so playing 8th notes on each hand in French grip will really work out your finger control. And you'll notice that when you start to do this, it'll feel really awkward in that weak hand. You're gonna want to, it'll slice, right? Instead of going straight up and down, it's gonna want to go at an angle. You just need to do it a ton to work that out. And after you do that, you get that finger control built up and you mirror what's going on in your strong hand. You'll notice that that weak hand really seems a lot less lazy, right? It seems like it's getting up to speed. When you're watching TV, when you're watching a show, get your pad out, work on that French grip, okay? Whenever you can find time, just work on that French grip, and you'll notice that that left hand will really start to liven up. I keep saying left hand, but you know what I mean, your weak hand. Tip number 3 is don't leave out your weak hand when it comes to exercises. Okay, for me, I like to lead with my right hand when I'm working on paradiddles, singles, doubles, whatever. But I also like to make sure that I'm leading with my left. Okay, so here's some examples of me playing rudiments with right hand lead and left hand lead. All right, so those are 3 tips that will help you strengthen that weak hand. I'd love to hear your thoughts, how this is working out for you in the comments. Also, your own tips that have helped you. And remember, subscribe for more videos. Thanks so much. Have a great week.